Hello, it is me, the real king of BC. Now, I usually don't talk about diversity on this channel, though that's mostly because of the fact that I try to steer clear from political topics. However, since it's Black History Month, I decided, why not? I'm actually a big fan of diverse cast of characters, and usually when said diverse cast of characters is written well, it usually elevates any story, in my opinion. Usually this shows how good of a writer or even the concepts of certain characters are, whether they be black, white, Asian. It really doesn't matter. If you can make any type of diverse character work, then honestly, in my opinion, you're a good or even a decent writer. If you can make an amazing story with said characters, then honestly, the sky's the limit, right? There are multiple franchises that have, like, multiple different diverse casts of characters, both video game and movie wise. And of course, some books and a couple comics as well. By a couple, I mean most of them. Go figure. However, diverse characters weren't always a popular subject. I'm not gonna go on about that in this video, but for a while, diverse characters were usually just the butt of jokes or usually just unimportant side characters that may or may not show up ever again. It really depended on the writer or even the story that they were trying to tell. It wasn't until, like, I'm gonna say, like, sometime during the 60s and the 70s where diverse characters actually became more competently written and actually more prominent in stories. Just in general. Movies, video games, comics, novels, what have you. Any type of media that you consume. Diverse characters became more important as time went on. Some were written pretty well, some not so much. But for the most part, the public reception to this was actually pretty positive. When done well, of course. When not done so well, it was pretty negative, for good reason, too. Diverse characters are tricky to get down. Because, first of all, you have to avoid using stereotypes, and if you want to turn those stereotypes on their head, and not just avoid them and take them head on, then good luck to you, because that stuff is incredibly hard to do. Some people like it, some people don't. Whether you want to subvert stereotypes or whether you just want to get rid of stereotypes altogether, there's multiple different ways to tackle diverse characters in one way or the other. Not to mention anthro characters as well, aka animal characters that have human characteristics and so on. So, yeah. There are multiple fantasy worlds that have multiple different types of races in them. Right? And honestly, most of them are written pretty well. Some of them not so much, but most flesh out their cast and the races decently well. I think for me, one of the best examples of this is One Piece. Now, if you don't know, One Piece is actually a Japanese anime that's been going on for years now. I've watched it ever since I was a kid, and I still enjoy it to this day. Great series, you should check it out. Anyway, the world of One Piece has an insane amount of diverse characters. There's a lot of them, with different races and different climates and different islands all over the place. Some human, most of them not, because One Piece is a fantasy world where anything goes. But they do still have their own rules to make sure that things don't go too off the rails. So yeah, One Piece is a great example of a fantasy story with a diverse cast of characters done right. It's definitely one of the best examples. There are other examples. I guess you could say Lord of the Rings, of course. Right. Honestly, you could also say the Justice League from DC Comics, or even the Avengers from Marvel Comics. It doesn't matter. There's multiple different ways to write diverse characters. There is a good and a wrong way, sure, but in all honesty, I don't think it should be impossible to write a decent, diverse cast of characters. You don't have to force yourself. In fact, you shouldn't force yourself to write a diverse cast of characters if you don't want to. In my opinion, you should definitely want to. That way, the writing just comes across as way more passionate because, you're actually into it. You actually want to write these characters. You're actually invested in the stories. And because of that, we are invested in the stories. We want to read more about them. We want to see them more. We want to see them grow as actual characters. And so on and so forth. They might start out as a cliche character, but grow as something much more later. Or heck, maybe they might start out as a bit of a stereotype character, and then as time goes on, they evolve into no longer being a stereotype and actually being their own character. I like characters like that. They're some of the best when it comes to characters that are seen as stereotypical or just not that interesting in general. Now, tropes are good, sure, when they're used right, but tropes can also be used in pretty bad ways. And of course, there's good and bad tropes. Now, I'm not going to get too into that here, but the point is that there's good tropes to give some characters, and there's bad tropes to give some characters. However, if you can turn those tropes on their head and make them into actually something good, and something that works for the character, and honestly, in my opinion, you have the makings of a great writer. Right? A great storyteller, or even a great illustrator or director, what have you. There's a lot of potential when it comes to writing diverse cast of characters, be it a fantasy setting or even a realistic setting. It doesn't matter. If you have the passion, then honestly, I think you should try writing a diverse cast of characters. It doesn't matter. More diverse cast of characters need passion behind them. They need to feel organic. They cannot be forced in any way whatsoever. Otherwise, not many people are going to enjoy your story. Because they know that you're not enjoying this and that you're only doing this just because other people are telling you to, or you're being pressured by your boss. You should want to write this. You should want to write these characters and their stories. You should want to make them interesting. You shouldn't have to force them into certain stories or force them into a character archetype that doesn't really fit them if you don't want to. That's how I feel about the whole situation. Honestly, I think my favorite cast of characters to talk about when it comes to this are usually black characters, for obvious reasons. Right? Static Shock is a great example of this. Definitely one of the best African American characters out there. Same thing goes for Black Panther as well. And of course Luke Cage, who actually started out as a stereotype and actually went on to become a pretty interesting character. And sure, he's not the most important Marvel character that you will run into, but honestly, he's pretty cool. Very interesting. And those are just a few examples. There's a lot more. Like, way more. Like Blue Marvel, who's a fairly obscure character from Marvel, but a very interesting character indeed. And of course there's Black Lightning, who he himself is also fairly interesting. And of course Icon, another interesting character, very similar to Static. Again, there's tons of black or Hispanic or Asian characters that are very interesting in their own right. And of course Andro characters as well. So yeah, if you have the passion, then I think you should write a diverse cast of characters. If you don't, then that's fine too. So yeah, what do you think? Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And honestly, tell me in the comment section what your favorite kind of diverse character is. Or even a story from said character. It doesn't matter. It can be from video games, books, novels, comic books, movies. It really doesn't matter. Just please give me more support. Who knows? Maybe I'll make more videos like this if you like it. So yeah, I'm the real King of BC. Please help me grow my channel. If you do, I will get a Twitter and even a Patreon. And maybe even a gaming channel. Who knows? If you're interested enough, please show that support. King out.